Thanks for buying my steering coupler.
Before MKS steering coupler? After MKS steering coupler.
What up, dudes and girls? Is that better?
Yes.
So we're working on a steering coupler. We have a lot of questions on how these come apart. So once you get your column out, this is what you're changing, is this piece. So we're gonna take this off and I'll show you the steps on how to do that. So a quick rundown on taking the column out. The first thing you have to take off is this panel, which is the lower dash panel. There's 3 screws here, and there's supposed to be one here and one here, which are behind this cover and this cover. And then you have your 2 for your hood pull cable. So once you take those out, this comes down. The next thing you'll have to take off is this lower cover, which is down here, which this car doesn't have, but it has the upper cover. So in order to take that off, there's 5 screws in it. It goes through this plate back here, so this sits on top of it. So once you get the lower cover off, you'll be able to see the bolts through the upper cover. The upper cover is really hard to get out with the column in, but you can take a 12mm extension. You'll take the 4 bolts out from the bottom, and that's all that holds your column to the dash. And then you'll have to go underneath the car to get this bolt out. So if you go up from the bottom on the driver's side, you'll be able to see where it connects to the gearbox. So once you take this bolt out, this is all that holds it to the gearbox. This will slide down, and then you'll have to probably hammer up here to get it to slide off. And now we'll go over taking this all the way apart. You can cut this boot off because you're not going to use it anymore. It's going to be the easiest way to get it out of your way without slicing your hand. So then you're left with this, which is greasy. This ring right here has a separation in it. You just have to pry it out of this groove. That way. And then this will come off. And then you have these 2 pins. These 2 pins right here have to come out. It doesn't go all the way through. You can try a strong magnet if you have one. I usually weld something to this and then pull it out of there because it's super easy and I don't struggle. I've had less success with the magnet. This is where everybody struggles to get these apart. You're supposed to be able to kind of push in here. There's a little spring pressure. You never want to hit the bottom of this because you'll shorten the shaft. But you're supposed to be able to push in and get these out with a magnet, which is fairly difficult. So we're going to use a welder. I just have a piece of scrap metal, some stuff I had laying on the floor. I'm just going to weld it to the pin, not the housing, just the pin. That's the pin. So we'll do the same thing on the other side, and then I'll show you what happens once we get that pin out.
It's gonna spark me.
Whee! So then this pulls straight off, and then under here you have more pins. This pin you can drive out, but you have to be very careful not to bend the end of this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna set it up in here so I'm hitting against the bottom of that, and then I'm gonna drive that pin out. All right, so we have this supported against here, so all the force is just going into the pin, and we're just gonna try to drive this out. And then this twists and comes off. And then this is what you're left with, which is where your new steering coupler will fit. This is your coupler. This is a 4mm Allen, 10mm nut. So you take this off, push this part out. These are definitely standard, but a 3mm does work. These are definitely a 1/8 Allen wrench. 1/8. So this slides on here. The hole lines up. The bolt goes through the hole. The nut goes on. The nut will bottom out before the bolt does. That's normal because it's press fit inside. So your nut's going to bottom out, which is what you want. You'll have a little gap up here. And then once you get that done, you just tighten these 2 set screws, and then that part of the install is done. And all you have to do is slide it back through the firewall, line this up. You have 2 set screws here. So you don't have the bolt that goes through anymore. So once you get this, you have to loosen these, get this slid down over your gearbox, and then tighten these 2 set screws, and then that's it, it's done. Thanks for buying my steering coupler. I'm like that kid at their grandparents. Tell your grandparents thanks. Give them a hug. Tell them you love them.